G'day guys, and welcome to another ActionScript 3 Quick Concepts video tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make yourself a sound library. So it's going to be something that you can reuse in your game, and it's going to be something that you can quickly add sounds and music to, and just by calling one simple line you can play that sound or music clip whenever you want to. But to start off with, we're going to get used to the basics of sounds and basically how to play a sound from just ActionScript code. And I'm going to show you both ways to do it. So the easiest way is just by importing a sound clip into Flash, adding it to your library, and then playing it from ActionScript code. That's the quick and dirty, simple way. And the alternate way, which is a little bit more flexible, is the external method, where you keep your MP3 files in your ActionScript project folder, and you load them in and then play them whenever you want. But to get started, we'll start off with the simple way, and we'll get our sounds into our ActionScript 3 library. So all I've got here is an ActionScript 3 document. I've got a class linked up to main, and in Flash Develop I've just got a main file here. Now I have got a sounds directory as well, and I've got 3 sound effect files and 1 music file. So feel free to grab sounds from wherever you want and stick them in a sounds folder. It doesn't matter what their names are, because we're going to be adapting that to our sound library anyway. So to get started, I'm going to head back over to Flash, and I'm going to go over to my library, and I'm just going to import a couple of those sounds that I've got here in Flash Develop in my folder. So all I'm going to do is drag them across, and I'll just drag one of them actually. I'm going to drag the Power Up MP3 over. And that's here in my sound library. You can just go to File, Import to Library, and import it the same way, or drag and drop works. Now, in order to play our sound, we need to be able to talk to it via ActionScript code. So to do that, I'm going to right click, go to Properties, and go to the ActionScript tab and export it for ActionScript. And I'm just going to leave the name, I'm going to cut off the MP3 on the end, and just leave the class name as Power Up for this one. And all this sound does is basically, and I don't think you can hear that. Let me change my speakers around. So you should be able to hear that coming through the microphone. And that's just a sound effect here for a simple Power Up sound. So now that we've got the linkage name done, we're going to talk to that file and play it in ActionScript code. So I'm just going to save this, go over to Flash Develop, and as soon as we load our clip up, we'll get the sound to play. So I'm going to create a sound object of our embedded sound file, of our sound file in our library. I'll keep it simple. So I'm going to create a new variable. It's going to be a sound object, so I'll call it SND, and we'll call it Power Up. And that is going to be a sound object. And what we're going to do is we're not going to initialize it to be a new sound object. We're going to initialize it to be a new Power Up. And why did I do this here? Because in our ActionScript, in our library, our linkage name is Power Up, and if you look at the ActionScript, it says the class name for this is Power Up. So this is how we refer to it. It is base classing sound, but its own unique name is called Power Up. So press OK to that. So we create a new sound called Power Up, and then we can call its variable name Sound Power Up, and simply play it. And that's pretty much it for the internal method. So if we save this and give it a test, you can see that as soon as our movie loads, it plays our sound straight away. So that's the quick and dirty, simple way of getting your sound to play, by just importing all your sounds into your library and creating linkage names. But if you've got a lot of linkage names, this can take a little bit of time, and especially if you've got to change a sound, you've got to delete it and then re-import it, or you can use the update method, which is alright, I guess, but yeah, there's a better way to do it. So I'm going to get rid of that sound file in our library, and we're going to load it from an external source. And yeah, we'll get rid of this too. Actually, I'll just comment it out so you can keep it in your code and have a look-see later on. So what we want to do now is we want to load in that same power-up file from our sounds directory. So my directory structure is just my quick concepts and then a sounds directory in there. Nothing fancy. So let's firstly load in our sound file. Actually, let's do two things first. We're going to create a sound object, and then we're going to load in our file, and then we're going to play our loaded in sound. So 3 steps for this method. So first things first, we're going to create a sound file, and let's actually get the shoot one in this time. So I'm just going to call this variable sound shoot, and it's going to be a sound type of object, and we'll make that equal new a sound object, so just a generic sound object. So to load our file in, we target our sound shoot variable name, and we load in an object, or in this case it's expecting a URL request for what MP3 file you want to load. So open the round bracket, I'm going to pass it a new URL request, and URL request needs a string, and the string is just a path to get to our sound file. So mine's in the sounds directory. Oops, put that in quote marks. Sounds directory, and then shoot.mp3. Close off the double brackets, and then once our sound file is loaded in, all we want to do is play it. So we target our sound shoot object, and then type play. So I'm going to save that, give it another test, and that works. Let's test again. Alright, nice and easy to get an external sound loaded in as well. So this, like I said, is the quick and dirty way to load a sound. Like, it does get the job done, but let's say we want to get an MP3 track loaded in, and then we want to stop it later on. So what I'm going to do now is get our MP3 track to load in. So I'm just going to press F2 on my sound file because I don't want to type it out. I'm going to copy that and just paste it in here. And give this a test. Okay, so our audio track's loading in, and what we want to do now is actually stop it at some point in time. So I'm going to create a button to do that, and I'm just going to drag out a box on the stage, nothing fancy, and I'm going to turn that into a movie clip by pressing F8 and calling this MC stop. That'll do. And we'll give it an instance name of stop button, and then all we need to do is link this in our document class. So I'm going to go back to Flash Develop, create a public variable type called stop button, and that's going to be a movie clip. Okay, so let's set up a click handler for that button. This should be nothing new. We've done this in previous tutorials, so I'm going to skip over typing out what I'm doing. So stop button, add event listener, listening for a click, and we'll go to a stop clicked function. And I'm going to create that in Flash Develop with Control-Shift-1, mouse event handler, and here's where we want to stop our sound. So we can't target our sound at the moment because obviously it's not a class member variable, so we'll shift this up by pressing Control-Shift-1 on it and promoting it to a class member. If you're not using Flash Develop, just type in private var sound shoot up above your constructor function and get rid of the var and the data type over here. So now, while we can target our sound down here, sound shoot, you'd think that because there's a play method, there should be a stop method to stop our audio track from playing. But there is kind of no stop method at all for the sound object. What we need is a different type of object called a sound channel. So a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, we used to have these things called tape decks, or cassette players, where we used to have cassettes, we put them in a machine and it started playing. We use CDs now, so I guess that's probably a more recent thing which I should have put in. But yeah, we'll go with the cassette deck. We'll go with the cassette analogy anyway. So basically, your sound object is a cassette tape, and you can't play it by itself, even though in this case you can. What you need to do is pass it through a sound channel, and then you get more control over it. Basically, you can play it, you can stop it, you can do other things to it by adding on a sound transform as well, like shifting the volume from left speaker to right speaker, or fading it, or making it fade in, and other things like that. So what we need to do is create a sound channel and then play our sound through that sound channel instead. So what I'm going to do is we still need to create a new sound, we still need to load it in, and we still need to play it. But what we need to do after creating a sound object is create a sound channel. So to do that, I'm going to create a new variable called sound chan, and that's going to be a sound channel type of object. And I'm going to make this a class member variable as well, so promoting that to a class member up here. And now instead of just playing the file, what I'm going to do is target our sound channel, and we're going to play the file in our sound channel by making it equal the play. Now down here when we click our stop button, we can target our sound channel instead of our sound and then stop it from playing. So let's save this and give it a test. Our sound starts up, I click the button and it stops, as you would expect. So this is all well and good, like we know how to use a sound channel and a sound, but it gets kind of messy when you have to create all of this for each one of our sound objects. And you know, if you have a lot of sounds in your game, it's kind of really tedious to set this up for every single one. And so what we're going to do in place of that is we're going to set up a sound library. Now this is going to make things really easy to load in various sounds and also get them to play in our game. So I'm just going to get rid of all this code for the moment. So all I've got is my stop button, get rid of that, and I'll get rid of the sound and sound channel as well. So all we've got is a stop button on our stage. So now let's set up a sound library class, which is going to handle all of that stuff for us. So I'm going to create a new class file. I'm going to call it sound library, and this is not going to extend any base class. So just press OK. So what we're going to do in here is create our sound channels that we need for our sound. So I'm going to use two sound channels. One's going to be a sound effect channel where we play our power-ups and our shoots and other various small type of sound objects, you know, things that only play for like maybe 1-2 seconds tops. And then another sound channel which is just going to be for our background music. So create sound channels is the first thing we're going to be doing. I'm going to create a sound channel, and that's a good enough prefix for it. Sound channel for our effects. And I'm going to create another sound channel for our background music. So a sound channel is basically a track where you can load sound objects into. You can do all of this with one sound track, but for organization's sake it's actually good to have a couple of them in your file. So once we've got that, we want to load our sounds in. So I'm going to create an object similar to what we did before. So load in our sound files. So this one's going to be a sound object for our power up. It's going to be a new sound, and we're going to sound power up load a new URL request, and that's going to be coming from our sounds folder and then our power up mp3. And then likewise we're going to load in our background audio track as well. So I'm just going to copy this for time's sake, and this is going to be a sound we'll call it BG Music. And once again, I'm just going to copy the track name and paste it in here. Okay, so now we've got a couple of sounds set up. Actually, let's get one more sound effect just to prove a point. I'm going to copy this again. And this time let's load in a prang sound file. So when something hits something else. So this is going to be sound prang. And we're going to be getting a prang MP3 file to load in. Okay, so we've got a couple of audio files loaded in now. And what we want to do now is create basically a couple of functions that we can use to play these sound files whenever we want from this sound library. So first thing I'm going to do is create a public function. So make sure it's public, not private. And we'll call this play music. It's not going to return anything. And all we want to do is get our music file to play in our sound music channel. So we need both of these to be class member variables. So I'm going to promote both of them to be class members. So they just get added up the top here. And then our sound channel music is going to accept our sound BG music to start playing. Okay, and likewise for our sound effects, I'm going to create a public function again, and this time it'll be play shoot. Oops, shoot. And once again, we need our sound effects channel to be a class member. Promote that to a class member, and oh, we don't have a shoot. Okay, we'll play prang instead. And shift that down, and we'll get prang to be a class member variable as well, up the top here. So then our sound channel effects is going to be accepting a playing sound from our prang. Okay, so now that that's working, let's give it a test to see if it's actually going to hold up in our class. What I'm going to do here is at the start of our main, we've got our sound library here. So I'm going to create a new variable called sound lib, just short for sound library. And that's going to be our sound library class. I'm going to create a new instance of that. So now I'll promote this to be a class member once again so we can access it anywhere we want in our functions. So when we click this button now, instead of stopping, which we should probably rename, but it's fine for this example, we want our background audio to start playing. So we can target our sound lib and play music. That's a function that we set up here, which is a public function called play music, and this just tells our sound channel to start playing our background music. So instead of typing out all this code in there in our main file and getting it all messy and untidy, we've got all of our sound code only in our sound library class. And we can just play our music from here, just with one line. So let's save this, give it a test, click the button, and there we go, starts playing. So in order to get your sounds to stop, which we've covered as well, let's set that up. So assume that you got your music to play right at the start. So I'll cut this out of here and put it just after our sound library, so we start playing our music. And now we want our music to stop. So what we can do is we can set up another public function here. Call stop all. Yeah, we'll call it stop all. And this is going to stop every sound from playing in our game. So we'll target both of our sound channels. So our sound channel for music, and we'll tell whatever's playing in there to stop. And we'll target our sound channel effects and get whatever's playing in there to stop as well. So now when we click on our stop clicked, we can target our sound library and call the stop all function that we just made then. Let's save this, give it a test. Music starts playing. and we click the button and it stops, just like you'd expect it to behave. But we've got a lot less code in our main class now, and any changes that we do need to make to sounds, we can do it just in one file without cluttering up everything else. So one of the more common things that people ask for as well is, how do I make a pause button for the music? So say music starts playing straight away, I hit another button, it pauses the track, and then I hit another button to play it. So let's set up another button real quick, and we'll keep it nice and simple. I'm just going to clone this by holding down Alt and dragging, and let's change the colors around so we know what's going on. Let's change the color effect for this right button to, say, green for play, and we'll change this button here, its color effect tint, to, say, red. Actually, pause is kind of yellow, so we'll go with yellow. So this is going to be our pause button, and this is going to be our play button. So don't worry about the names, even though they're a little bit different. In fact, this should be called play button. So one button called stop, another one called play. So back over in Flash Develop, I'm just going to create the linkage for that. So public variable play button movie clip, and let's create a event listener for that as well. Okay, so here is our play button. So I'm going to rename this as well. So I'm just going to right click, go to refactor and rename. I'm going to call this pause button instead. And that way it changes both occurrences down here with the refactor. So instead of stopping all, I'm going to get rid of that, and we're going to set up a new function instead. So one of the handy things of the sound effects channel is it has this thing called a position, and this tracks what position the sound is currently up to. So what we need to do is, when we stop our music or pause it, which we're going to create a new function for now, we need to capture what position it's up to and store that somewhere. So when we play our music again, we can resume from that point where we left off. So what I'm going to do here is create another public function called pause music. And there's a couple of things we need to do in here first. First thing is we need to create a position of where we're up to. So we'll create a variable. It's going to be a number, music position, and that is going to be equal to our sound channel music and its position that it's currently up to. And then we're going to tell our sound channel music to stop playing. That's going to act as a pause. Even though we're stopping the file, we're still going to track what position we're up to. And I'm going to create this to be a class member variable once again, because we need to be able to access it up here as well. So as soon as we start off our file, we want to set our music position to start off at 0. So let's initialize position to start at 0. And now when we play our music file, we're going to play it from its music position. So as soon as we start off, we're going to start playing off from 0, but if we pause our music, we're going to get that position and then stop our audio track. And then when we go to play it again, we're going to resume from that position where we saved it up to in here. So we've got our music to play right at the start. So in here, let's call our sound library once again. In our play button, we'll get the music to start playing. And in our pause button, we'll get our music to pause. And that's pretty much it. So let's give it a save and a test. Music starts playing. Create this pause button, and it pauses, but then when I hit play, it resumes where it left off. So, this is another problem you're going to notice, is that when I hit play multiple times, it's queuing up multiple audio tracks to play in that same sound channel, which is definitely not something that we want to do. So a quick fix around that is to go back to our sound library, and when we start playing our music track over here, let's just get any other previous instances, if it was playing, to stop. So sound channel music, let's stop any if they were playing, just in case. So that way play acts as like a restart button as well. And you can put a bit more logic in this and have your play button act as a pause and play button by using a couple of if statements and a boolean to check if it's currently playing, then pause, otherwise play. But you guys will probably know how to do that now anyway, because we've been through a lot of tutorials on logic and doing things like that. So this will start playing, and if I hit play, it stops the audio and it plays one track only. And our pause button works, and our resume button works. So that's pretty much it, I think, for this tutorial. So we got our sound effects to play, and let's just take out the play button for a second, and let's not play our music at the start as well, just to show that we can get our sound effects to play. So our sound library, let's play praying, and then what other file do we have here? We loaded in power up, so let's make a function for that as well. Public function play power up, and we'll use our sound channel effects to play that, which will be our sound. Did I rename that? Oh, I didn't create a class member out of it. Never mind. So let's promote that to be a class member, sound power up, and now we can target it down here. Okay, so we got play praying, play power up. We'll get our play button to play the praying, and then our pause button to play the power up. So remember, you can use this line anywhere you want in your code. You'll probably want to use it somewhere where the logic makes a sense. So, for example, when you want the power up audio file to play, it'll probably be when your player collects a power up. So this is where you use that line. So let's save this, give it a test. And yeah, that's working pretty much as we need it to. So we've cleaned up a lot of the code in our main class. We've basically just got one line where we load in our library, and then we call our playing audio tracks in here. And our sound library is one where we load in all our sounds and keep everything that just pertains to sounds in here. So yeah, I think that'll do it for this tutorial. I hope you got something out of it. As per usual, leave your comments and questions in the YouTube comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible if you have any. Cheers guys, see you next time.